What's up, everybody? We're live. Another Vanguard live stream. Gavin drinking LaCroix, even though he was the one that started the stream. What's up, everybody? I'm Zach.
And I'm Gavin. We have a really interesting and super special, I guess, live stream today. Obviously, we cover the People's Party a lot here on the channel and third-party movements in general, most of which we stand in solidarity with. We think it's the right path forward for sure, at least to pressure the Democratic Party, if nothing else, even if not successful. I think a big part of the third-party goal is to really, be that left flank there if no one else is going to be there to push the Democrats left to be where they need to be. And
yeah, if the Democrats aren't going to represent the people, there have to be opposition parties that can represent the people, whether that, whatever. I always say on the show, I don't care if you're running for the grilled cheese sandwich party, as long as you're going to give people healthcare, you have my attention.
Absolutely. And if anyone's, been following along, there's been a little bit of drama at the People's Party lately. Ryan Knight, who was a pretty advocate for the party, a pretty big profile endorser and advisory council member, he stepped down. Shortly after that, Jerry Perez, the West Coast coordinator, stepped down, and maybe a girl also stepped down from their advisory council. And it seems like a complete clusterfuck, to be completely honest. That's the best word I can use to describe it from an outsider looking in. It's confusing. It seems very messy, very ugly. Lots of stuff, lots of accusations flying around. And since Zach and I aren't actually there, we thought that it would be a good idea to have on, people from both sides of the spectrum. We want to hear both sides, and we want to present a fair and non-biased case to you guys that isn't just, propagandistic, that's not just trying to overlook serious concerns of real activists. And we spoke to Jerry Perez back in the summer when he was with MPP, and we found to have a great constructive
just
conversation.
A few weeks after the Movement for a People's Party convention, actually.
Yeah.
At a time when his feelings towards the people were pretty optimistic, towards the Movement for a People's Party were pretty optimistic. So I guess without further ado, Gavin, unless you had anything else to set the table, we can bring on our guest, of the day, Jerry Perez, like you said, former West Coast coordinator of the People's Party.
Yeah, what's up, man?
How's it going today, Jerry?
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing today? I'm doing good.
Good to hear, man.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you with us today, and we're looking forward to, we've been looking forward to having this chat. Obviously, you've since resigned from your position with as the West Coast coordinator of the Movement for a People's Party. But before we dive into that, the last time we spoke with you, from what I could tell, at least, it seemed like you felt pretty optimistic about the People's Party, the Movement for a People's Party, rather. You spoke at the People's Party convention that was widely viewed by many people on YouTube. I guess if you could fill us in on kind of what's been going on between when we last spoke and when your resignation became public.
Okay, just a quick clarity. I actually resigned first before Maybe and Ryan.
Okay, interesting.
Just to make that clear. So let's start at the beginning. When I first put my word on this organization and endorsed it and called out to my veteran community to bring their contribution to this organization to begin building a major new party of the people. After meeting with Nick and his folks, I was completely optimistic and I was ready to go to ensure that this party had the infrastructure necessary to make state parties all across the nation. I dedicated countless hours onboarding people, calling people, interviewing people, vetting people, training people, how to use Action Network, how to reach out to the community, and preparing to activate 5 states to begin collecting voter signatures to actually solidify these parties in every state that I managed. What has happened? The only thing I can describe it as Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. What I've observed over the last 6 months has been completely unacceptable by my standards and by the veteran standards. And I have been guilty in the fact that I didn't call it out right away when it started. And that was solely because of my desperation and me wanting this to work. I attributed everything going on as growing pains. I attributed this as it's a work in progress. What has happened, the way these volunteers have been treated over the past 6 months, blatantly nothing less than disrespect. misleading, and downright manipulative. And excuse me if I pause a lot. I am trying my hardest not to cuss.
No, take your time. Yeah,
It's okay, Jerry. And maybe for those listening who aren't fully aware of what's transpired, could you maybe explain a little bit what's gone on with these petitioners and the way that the People's Party responded? It's very confusing if you're not fully aware.
So last year, a petition has started pointing out problems that were identified within the People's Party organization. Things from the democratic process not existing, to no clear bylaws, to the financials not being up to date, basic organization stuff being brought forward. Originally, it was comprised of just 10 people. I brought it to my peer regional coordinator, Kat, the West Coast regional coordinator alongside me. I brought it to her attention. To make the volunteers feel included, we had them go and present it to the national circle. And if you've ever organized in grassroots organizing before, it's a simple process. They all say a piece of what they're presenting and then they pass it over. And it's a very respectable and just kind of like reassuring kind of a procedure going on.
Sure.
It was not handled very well. These folks, it's clear now, they don't have any experience dealing with regular everyday people. And my opinion and my observation of this whole thing is that they're not ready to talk to an extremely diverse amount of people. They are an outstanding PR team. But when it comes to talking to everyday people, you cannot talk to them in the manner in which they are talking to them.
Could you maybe give us an example, Jerry? I'm just trying to get an idea of what kind of situation you're describing.
Well, when the petition was being presented, they went in there, the National Circle, explained they had no knowledge of the petition. Midway through and at the very end, as we were getting to wrap up, one of the National Circle members, I might as well just say his name, Thomas, began calling out the petitioners and commenting on the presentation and starting to rile them up a bit. It was then at that time where he kind of slipped up and let the petitioners know that the National Circle was well aware of the petition and actually had a copy well beforehand of that meeting. That action right there broke trust and confidence with the petitioners and led me to a shitstorm that I have been dealing with for the last 4 months, dealing with volunteers consistently. In their pissed off state. So because of the situation and because the petition kept getting prolonged, instead of being addressed and corrected in a timely manner, the petition grew, in which that is what's going to happen if you don't address the petition right away. Until this became more than 200 of the members signing on to this petition. And then from there, we just have infighting going on within MPP, coordinators fighting coordinators, national leaders speaking in disrespectful manners to volunteers, and overall just making my life difficult at the time.
Interesting. And so you step back. Clearly, you don't think this is an organization you want to be involved with. But obviously, there's a lot of people out there that feel that, you know, the Democrat and Republican parties are so mired in corruption, so mired in the muck of establishment politics that any alternative seems preferable. And honestly, to a lot of people, the stated goals of the MPP probably override what they might see as just organizational infighting or, like you said, growing pains. So I'm just wondering if you can maybe give people some guidance that are not quite sure right now how to feel about the status of the People's Party, whether maybe they're not quite sure if it's worth it to be involved. Do you think from your perspective, if it's something that's worth salvaging or that could be salvaged? And I just want to know what your feelings are about the future of this organization and the integrity going forward.
All right, everyone, I want you to listen to this for a moment because I'm about to give you a real perspective here. The movement for People's Party is not composed of the small circle of folks that claim to be managers of that organization. The movement for the People's Party is comprised of the entirety of the United States of America and its citizens. If you believe in this movement and you want this movement to succeed, what I advise of every last one of you, reach out to Movement for a People's Party. Tell them to own up to this situation and correct it so we can move on with the mission to create this major party. What is not going to make this better is accusing the volunteers, trying to scapegoat the volunteers, and being disrespectful to the volunteers. What you're doing right there is you're destroying your reputation. Do not do that. When you speak to anyone donating time, volunteer efforts, money, or anything in general, you speak to them with nothing but respect. You are there to serve them. You are there to make their lives easier. I hope to lead by example and to show that to my peers. However, that does not seem to have sunk through. So what I advise of all of you, and one last time to reiterate, if you want this to succeed, reach out to them, tell them to acknowledge this problem and correct this problem immediately.
Well, Jerry, that sort of leads well into my my next question for you, which would be, what does reconciliation look like to you? Obviously, you're somebody that shared the vision, that I think a lot of people saw when they first heard of the People's Party, a movement for a People's Party. Gavin and I felt that. That's something that, when your ears perk up, this is something that I can get behind, right? Solidarity amongst the working class to fight for these issues that, all of us hold so dear. Obviously there's an element of betrayal that you seem to be, that you're describing here. And I'm wondering, how does the healing process begin? What does the reconciliation process look like? Because it to me, it sounds like you do want success for the movement for a People's Party. What does that reconciliation process look like? If everyone were to wake up tomorrow with clear heads, in your view, and start, a clean slate moving forward, or working towards a clean slate, rather. Obviously, you can't just brush these things under the rug. I'm wondering, what does that road to redemption look like in your eyes?
Are you asking for me personally? Are you asking for my community? Just a little clarification here.
Sure. Well, if you could provide any insight to your community, that would be excellent. But I was mostly looking for your insight as well.
Okay. Well, speaking on behalf of my veterans, we have decided we're going to continue on with this mission. But as it was clearly stated, we're not being taken seriously. And so now we're going to get serious. What I'm doing now personally is I'm taking a break. I've been organizing for 4 years, and I'm going to get myself better situated. In the coming months, me and my fellow veterans are getting ready to announce and plan out a Veterans Summit, to where we will be reaching out to the entirety of our community across this nation and building the infrastructure of what we need to get this moving in a successful, timely manner and with respect. Now, as for Nick Brana and Movement for People's Party, I have not canceled Movement for People's Party, and no one can cancel the Movement for People's Party. This is where America is going. There is no stopping this. Already, we have folks on the right getting ready to start a new party. We are going to make this party a reality. But as of right now, it's quite clear that myself and my veterans need to take a step back and start actually building real power.
Well, Jerry, let me pause you right there real quick, because something that a lot of people have been saying online, at least, and I don't necessarily echo the sentiment myself, but I did want to give voice to this concern or this sentiment, which is that if the Movement for a People's Party can't even, properly get through this rough patch, as you're saying, they haven't really properly addressed it, and I would agree with that. Why not just join the Green Party, a party that's already established, where the activist work has already been put in, an explicitly leftist third party? Again, this isn't necessarily how I feel, but a lot of people do feel this way online. People that were, frankly, doubtful in the first place that the Movement for a People's Party could ever surpass the activism and organization that's already been accomplished by the Green Party. And now this is just seemingly completely ruined their trust or optimism about the organization, and they're just considering if they're on the third party team at all, they're looking to the Green Party now. What's your thinking on that? Do you think that the Green Party is more or less viable than the People's Party, or do you think that, like you said, this is the way forward and there's no stopping it?
So I was previously a Green. As of right now, I'm not throwing my backing behind any political organization. I'm staying completely out of that. What I will encourage everyone to do that is watching this. If you believe in the Green Party, volunteer for it. Get out there and make it a reality. Get out there and make it viable. But as far as everyone right now, what we need to do right now at this moment is address this problem and ensure that these volunteers receive their justice. There's over 200 volunteers that signed that petition. Mm-hmm. Over 200. That is not something you ignore. That is not something you scapegoat. That is something you own and correct.
Yeah.
I have full trust and confidence that MPP will get past this and they will get this corrected. A lot of good folks stayed within MPP.
Yeah.
I vetted and I trained a lot of people and brought a lot of them in, and a lot of them remained. However, a lot of them left as well. Right now, California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Arizona, Nevada, Oklahoma, they are not what they were 4 months ago. They were already. And then everything came to an immediate halt with this. So yeah, I just advise them, get this corrected, move on from this.
Well, I mean, that's at least a little bit more optimistic than maybe I was expecting. And I'm glad to hear that you still think that the organization will continue and hopefully move beyond this hiccup. I share your concern, absolutely, however, and I really do hope that we see a real, genuine addressal of this issue coming from the leadership, and hopefully some real changes in structure, potentially leadership too, that would maybe appease some of the concerns. Do you think that this is a leadership problem all the way up to the top? Do you think that maybe the Movement for a People's Party would benefit from, changing out some of their top figures?
Every problem is a leadership problem. There is never any situation on this planet where if there is a problem persisting, there's a problem with the leadership. Had I the authority to correct this problem, it would have been done immediately. You do not make excuses. You do not scapegoat. You take full responsibility for any problem, and then you solve it, and then you move on. It's very simple.
I'm wondering if you could actually shed some insight for me as to how the leadership of the People's Party came about. Obviously they've talked about a horizontal leadership structure. I'm wondering, were these were the leadership positions, were they voted on democratically by the volunteers? How did that come about in the first place? And how do you imagine that they would address those issues if they were to be corrected?
I have no knowledge on how the original leadership of this organization was put into place. But what I can tell you is that I advertise as this organization being a horizontal leadership structure organization. Mm-hmm. I'm here to tell you now that it has come to light that that is not the case. And they're changing their wording right now currently. But I do not appreciate that I spent all these months advertising for this organization in such a way. And it, in fact, is not what that is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess, Jerry, that seems like a pretty, I mean, those are your feelings, and we really thank you for coming on to share.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on to talk with us about it.
And I guess one thing I would just want to ask you, a final thing would just be, if anyone out there right now has maybe really tied up their hopes and their dreams in the People's Party, they've really invested a lot of, time and energy, maybe, people like yourself, or maybe just those who aren't directly involved in the organization, but mentally are committed to it. What's your message for them? Because this is obviously a very painful thing for a lot of people, including you, and it may be something that people just have very conflicting feelings about. And I'm just wondering what your message is out there to people that really do feel committed and on board with the People's Party right now as it is.
This organization needs to be a bottom-up organization. organization, not a top-down. And so what I advise all of them to do is to talk to their fellow volunteers, network with everyone in your community, and then go address leadership. Bring this problem to their attention and tell them to correct it. That is the main thing. Empower yourself. Take charge. Take full positive control of your situation. Do not rely on people's goodwill. Do not rely on bad actors. Do not rely on anybody that comes in with you with a smile on their face. You are to be respected. You're putting your time, your money, your hopes, and your dreams into this. Demand that they hold up their end of the bargain and make this party a reality.
Yeah, I think that should be a pretty bare minimum. I agree, treating your activists and organizers with respect. And hopefully this is a problem that's addressed substantially and to your liking. You know, obviously we'll be looking to your opinions. Hopefully we'll have you on again.
Yeah, and also, Jerry, you know, I think it's important to say, you know, we appreciate your courage, man. You know, it's not easy to get up here and point out, you know, some of the things that are wrong, the problems that are going on, especially when you said, you know, there's so many people who have their hopes and dreams tied up in this, and to you know, have the conviction and the moral clarity to say, you know, I got to call a spade when something's not right, and work to fix it, as opposed to sweeping it under the rug for, you know, the sake of growth or whatever people rationalize. I think that takes a lot of conviction, and I appreciate you coming on our show to talk about it, man.
Well, thank you very much. And it's something that I'm never going to compromise. I am never going to sell out the people. I am never going to lie to the people. I'm never going to manipulate these people. I came to you all, I told you what I'm about, and I've got to work doing it. That's all. I got nothing to sell to you. I got nothing to promote.
Yep.
I'm here to get to work.
Well, that's why we asked you on, Jerry, because we trust you and we think you're a real activist, someone that really cares about the people and this mission. And like Zach said, we do appreciate you being honest and diagnosing the problem as you see fit. Hopefully they can work this out. We'll keep covering it here at the Vanguard. We'll have you back on in the future if you wish to continue to comment on the subject. And we'll also have other people on from the People's Party that can maybe share their side of the story as well. Obviously, Zach and I are not directly involved in the internal organization whatsoever. We're just commenting. And the best we can do is have on people like you to share their perspective and try to get to the bottom of this, try to find the truth. So like Zach said, thanks so much for your time. Thank you for your bravery and your honesty. And we really hope you have a great rest of your Friday.
I recommend you reach out to the petitioners and hear their story.
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to us, go ahead, and our DMs are open on Twitter. So anybody that has a story or anything that they'd like to chat with us about, Gavin and I are always around. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll definitely hit you back.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good one, Jerry. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So I guess that was that.
That was Jerry Perez, formerly of the Movement for a People's Party, and you know, like we kind of implied on this interview, on this stream, you know, Gavin and I, we're just commenting on this. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this, right? We don't have, you know, we've never played we're this party, we're that party, but we just want healthcare. We want this movement to succeed, because we think that any movement that's supporting working people to get you know, the things that they need is worth. It's worth watching and worth covering, and I think that it says I'm hopeful that Jerry's optimism is something that can carry this movement forward, and that there are people that are willing to do the work to you know, address those claims that he says. And we'll also be having on anybody from the People's Party that wants to you know, comment on the issue. We'll be providing, you know, multiple perspectives, and you know, like we said, trying to get to the bottom of this issue the best we can here at the Vanguard.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that everyone on the left, everyone that agrees that we do need universal health care, that we do need a lot of these stated goals of several third parties right now. And hopefully we can all be adults about this and not let our emotions get the best of us.
Exactly.
As we've said, this is very...
You voted for the Green Party. I voted for the Democrats. We both like the People's Party as a concept. We both like the DSA as a concept. At this point, it's all coming down to strategy and execution. And so that's where things get chaotic. And that's where, you know, there are growing pains, and there's also problems. And we have to address those problems and bring them to light. And that's why we wanted to have Jerry on today and talk to him. And we're really glad that he came on and spoke with us.
Yeah. So we hope you guys thought this was a fair and honest conversation. And again, we'll be back with more content regarding this developing situation. And then hopefully things do smooth out going forward, we'll be here to comment on it all and let you guys know. We'll be having on more guests to speak to this issue, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in this live stream, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody. Happy Friday.
See you guys.